band transducers, new Bassmaster Opens formats, and additional Bassmaster Legends coming in. That's right, folks. A lot to talk about here. I'm just going to kind of lay it out for you, tell you what really the updates are, what the new stuff is, and we'll get into this band transducer. This is the Garmin LVS62, aka the XR, aka the saltwater transducer. There's a lot of mystery to this thing because a lot of the Bassmaster guys that are running it aren't talking about it because there is some sort of advantage, and I think that there was a target on it from this electronics committee that Bassmaster had this past year, and I find that very amusing because really it is just it is a bigger version of the LVS34. The LVS34 is Garmin standard live transducer. This is the 62. It is probably 40% bigger. It is more expensive. This transducer alone, I think, is around $2,500 without the black box or any of that kind of stuff. So it is very expensive. Is it that much better? A little bit. You can definitely see a little further. I think with the, in like, let's say clear water conditions like the Great Lakes, you can see up to about 120 feet with decent, good definition with the LVS 34. With this 62, you're going to be looking out to 200, even up to 220 before it starts to fade out. So you can see almost double the distance. That's a big advantage. Lowrance has a 2-degree more narrow beam with their active target. You can see probably 120 to 130 or 40 feet, somewhere in that range, before things start to get a little fuzzy. But maybe a tick further than the 34. But the LVS 34 has amazing detail. This does not have the same detail that the 34 does. It just doesn't. You can't see the exact same detail. Is it fuzzy? No, not really, but when you have them side by side, you can kind of see the difference. Active target, good target separation up off the bottom, but you get it close to cover. It is not the same as the LVS 34, but enough talking about transducers. Enough of that. Bassmaster has a new Opens format, and what they're going to do is they're going to have 4 tournament divisions, and they're going to have the top 50 in each 4 of those are going to be eligible to go to this 3 series EQ tournament series that is in September, October, November of 25. That's going to be interesting. I think that's going to be fun for the fans. That series is going to have the 100 of those guys plus any of the Elite Series guys from the previous year that got kicked out or left off or whatever you want to call it, called out in fishermen's terms. They have gone to be able to go into that EQ series as well. So they're going to take, I think, the top 9 into the Elite Series from that trail, whether it's previous Elites or it's Opens guys. That's what it looks like. They're also going to be current good standing Elites can also fish that as well. Whether you're requalified or whether you're in the Classic or not, you can fish them as well. But the winner of each of those 3 events, just like the Opens, the winner of each of those 3 events is going to get a Classic berth. So Elites that don't make the Classic, they can fish those 3 tournaments after the season and potentially win one of those events and make the Classic. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen here with this new situation. It's a little interesting to me and a little bit confusing at the same time. But they're gonna end up taking 2 extra people to the Classic. So the Classic's is already like 52. Now it's going to be 54 or whatever it is. They kind of called it. It got up to 55 at one point, and they kind of smashed it back down to 50, and then it kind of ballooned to 52. Now I guess it's up to 54, roughly like that. But we really need to get, I don't know, get that in check. If being honest with you, need to get that in check as far as what we're doing with the Classic. But anyway, that's what it's going to be. I think it'll be fun and interesting for the fans. It'll give opportunities for these open guys that if they just want to fish one division, they can fish one division, top 50, boom, then they can fish these other 3 events. So they only need to fish 7 events over, I guess that would be 11 months, roughly, maybe a little less depending on when each series starts. But you only have to do 7. You don't have to do 9. There's two less events, to try to make the elites. I could see that being pretty decent. Some people were like, oh, you can qualify in 50th through the opens, and then you're just really good in the fall, and then you get to make it to the elites. Well, being in the top 50 is nothing to truly sneeze at in this first 3 events. But I mean, if they're not that good of an angler, I just don't know. I've seen it to where you're not going to have an angler that's like a crappy fisherman, except for in the fall, that go out there and qualify for the elites in these 3 tournaments. I mean, I think that's a very, very weak argument. They're going to be a good angler if they qualify. Period. They're going to be a good angler. So I think the format, as far as being able to get good anglers, don't have to have that full commitment of all those tournaments. 2 less, a little bit less. Okay, that's cool. But it's going to give more opportunities for the elite guys to fish for more tournaments. I know some of the guys really were wanting to do that. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out and how it all comes down. But last but not least, we've got 2 new Bassmaster anglers, elite anglers, coming in using the exemption card, using that slot. One is Mr. Randy Howell, and the other is Mr. Cliff Pace. Been friends with those guys for a long, long time. See Randy at the last couple classics. I've watched his kids grow up, and Oakley and Laker is pursuing that dream, and Laker is doing very well. Can't quite get consistent enough to qualify for the elites yet. I'd love to see Laker do that. He's a good dude. He's very tall. He's like 6'4" or something, but very nice young man. Known him since he was a little kid, and that would be really cool. But yeah, Randy is back. Mr. Guntersville Classic come from behind winner. But also Mr. Cliff Pace. Cliff and I are very close. I talked to him a couple days ago, and he didn't mention this to me. And next time I talk to him, I'm going to give him some grief because, dude, you got back in the elites, and we have talked about this almost every time we talk, but then we talked this week, and then you didn't even tell me about it. So I don't know. We were talking about some other stuff that was, I guess, more important to him, and it was all good. But yeah, Cliff and I are friends. I'll be glad to see him. He's got a very dry sense of humor, but the dude is extremely funny. And he is also in the fishing industry as well, outside of the pro angler thing. He's got his own company, and now with the other companies he's got, with the Black Label Balsa and the V&M connections, and now he's out of that and into his own soft plastics. The dude's a hard worker. He works all the time. That's all he knows. And I think he's like me, to where he works a lot outside of the tournaments. Even though it's in the fishing industry, you still don't get time to focus on the angling side like you would like to, maybe like we used to earlier in our careers. But he's a good dude, and glad to see Cliff back for sure. But that's 2 more people that we get to watch on the Elite Series that might be names that you knew. Like I said, Randy won the Classic on Guntersville. Cliff won the Classic on Grand Lake. That's how they got their legend status, is winning a Bassmaster Classic or being a Bassmaster Angler of the Year. And those guys won that Classic. That's how they got in. So if you're wondering how that happens, it said in the press release that other Bassmaster legends wanted to get back in. I don't know. We can speculate on who those were. and see, you know, you can look down the list and see who, I don't know, maybe it was Chris Lane, I don't know. But Randy and Cliff have fished more tournaments, and they both are active Bassmaster Opens anglers, and I think that's what put them over the top. But either way, they'll be back on tour, and they're not taken away from the current Elite Series list. They're only going to be adding to it. So that's also a little note right there. They're going to be tacking onto the field. So it's going to be 100, and then we got a couple of medical exemptions on Ed Lochran. I think Jamie Hartman both had medical exemptions. It might have been one more if I'm not forgetting somebody. Clint Davis, if he's coming back. I don't know if he's coming back or not, but Clint Davis was the third one. And then these would add, so it'd be 105 potentially to go with. Rick Clunn retired, Derek Hudnall retired, Frank Talley retired. I don't know about anybody else that's stepping away, or if they're going to continue to come back. Not really sure yet, but it'd be interesting to see how the Elite Series fields comes back together. So if anybody has any questions or comments on this massive transducer right here, beady boom boom boom, wow wow wow. Drop them down there in the comments as always, and if you're happy for Randy and or Cliff, drop that down in the comments. You got anything else to say about the Opens? I'd be curious to see what the fans have to say about the Opens and the new format. I think we're going to put a lot of that stuff on FS1. You should be able to see that stuff there. So I appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you very, very soon. I'm going to be going to Japan, and we're going to have some cool stuff about that. So appreciate everybody watching.